Okay.
Kind of what we thought. All right. So we're going to start the interview now. Just for the record, can you give me your first name, your last name, how you spell it, and your previous role with the city most recently?
My first name is Michael. My last name is Mortell, Michael, Mortell. And my prior role with the city was city manager for the city of Stuart.
Okay. Michael, it's been 2 days since the city commission voted for your removal. Walk me through what your thought process was during the 2 weeks from when Commissioner Reed asked for your resignation to 2 days ago when they voted to fire you.
From the very second that he brought it up, I knew that he had been dishonest and not transparent, because he had told me the week before that he wasn't seeking my resignation. He told city staff the week before he wasn't seeking my resignation. He told the city or the Stuart News that he wasn't seeking my resignation, and he opened the meeting with him seeking my resignation. I was completely shocked at the meeting. I had people ask me if they wanted me to come to if they wanted support at the meeting. And I said, no, that's not on the agenda. That's not what's going on. He said he wanted to review my contract and make some changes. When he contacted the city attorney, he asked about my contract and make changes, and the city attorney explained to him that my contract responsibilities are in the charter, so it would require a referendum. He didn't even know that, but nonetheless, it was part of his setup, and that's what he likes to do, and it's an ambush. And the city code of conduct has a paragraph that's actually titled ambush, saying that city commissioners are not supposed to ambush staff, but that's kind of his style.
Now, obviously Commissioner Reed was the one who brought up this resignation and put it in front of the city commission, but 2 other commission members also voted. During the meeting, you had spoken with Commissioner Giobbi and said that she had her own reasons for voting yes to this. Can you disclose what those were during those conversations at all?
She never told me.
She never told you.
But she told me clearly, just as I'm looking you in the face right now, that I was not being fired for cause. And so what happened to me on October 13th is Sean Reed publicly stated, if Mike Mortell doesn't resign, we are going to expose all of these things that he should be fired for cause for. Well, first of all, I've been there 25 years or more. Number one, if there was anything I should be fired for cause for, the public deserves to know what it is. Number two, if he had that information, the personnel policy, the code of conduct, and the charter required him to provide that information to me to give me a chance to respond to it. And number three, I said, wait a second. If I resign now, the public, because he throws stuff on Facebook and leaks stuff to people all the time, just as he's done to the media, would perceive that I was hiding from some dramatic disclosure that he had planned for everybody. For the 14 days between the meetings, I went to work every single business day of it. I stayed there all day. I didn't return a single phone call from a single person in the media. I didn't participate in any rallies. I didn't ask anybody to participate in anything. I kept my head down and did my job because I did not want to be accused of any of it. In the meantime, he spent the whole time violating the city policies, violating the code of conduct, violating the Commission on Ethics, meeting with employees, searching for dirt, because what he did is said he had dirt and then was trying to back his way into finding some dirt. Like I said to you before, I've been there 25 years. He didn't find any dirt on me, or he would have brought it up at the last meeting. The irony is that I pointed out to him that everything he was doing was violations of policies and procedures, and that in the last 13 months, he's done more wrong than he could ever accuse me of. Nonetheless, my contract's very clear. It says the city commission has the right for me to be employed at the will of the commission, which means if they change their mind because they don't like the shirt I'm wearing, that's an adequate reason, and they can do whatever they want. Following the October 13th meeting, I met with Commissioner Reed, Commissioner Giobbi, Commissioner Clark, Commissioner Rich, Mayor Rich, and Commissioner Collins. Commissioner Reed gave me a list of things that he had read on August 11th from an email that one of the Facebook gossip pages had sent to him. I went through each one of them and demonstrated that, number one, they weren't accurate, but number two, even if they were, they weren't sufficient for cause. Commissioners Clark and Rich asked me questions about stuff, and I explained it to them. Commissioner Collins told me I had been a great commissioner and that I should just resign to avoid the circus of the whole thing. And then when he leaves in a few months, someone else will run for his seat and maybe I can get hired back then. And Commissioner Giobbe said, we're not firing you for cause. It has nothing to do with cause. And of course, I honestly believe that she didn't even realize that they were firing me for cause at the time. But they used that 14 days to just leak information and push information through Facebook to just discredit me and slander me and retaliate against me because I was the one pushing back on behalf of the city staff, on behalf of the city's culture and traditions, and on behalf of the fact that we have a legal obligation to follow state law. I mean, it's not that complicated, but I was that voice, and they didn't like that voice because pushing back doesn't work. So I knew that I was getting fired. It was pretty clear. But I also knew that I was not going to let my reputation be damaged by their misstatements. And when they said, you better resign or we're going to say what your bad stuff was, I knew in the last 25 years they would not find anything. And you know what happened? You saw it. They didn't find anything. There was no cause. They didn't find it. Of course, they're a little embarrassed, maybe. I don't care. Maybe they approached it wrong. They shouldn't have approached it that way. Hindsight is 20/20. But the idea that you're sitting in my living room 48 hours after I was fired because an individual city commissioner called all the media outlets and gave them personnel files on me and other information that they used their position as a city commissioner to gain violates Florida Statute 112.313 subparagraph 6. You can look it up later in your own free time. But he used his position as a city commissioner to gain information that he wouldn't have otherwise had for his own personal gain. And that is a violation of law, period. But see, he doesn't like it when I say stuff like that because I'm the only one that's been saying that for the last year, and I'm the one reining them in. In fact, in that August email and other emails from one of the Facebook gossip people, she wrote, and Mr. Mortell told the commission not to go and look at my Facebook page. Not exactly what I said. What I had learned was that Commissioner Giobbe was going on to Facebook pages and reading what Commissioner Collins had written and then commenting on Commissioner Collins's posts directly below it in direct violation of the Florida Sunshine. So I wrote an email to the commissioners trying to be as generic as possible, but cautioning them to not go to these pages and not read what each other writes, and in particularly, don't actually express your opinion too because it confirms verbatim that you're violating Sunshine. And again, I get it. They don't like me telling them not to violate the law, and I got to be the villain because I continuously did that. But what happened to me, the fact that you're in my living room, you're welcome to come anytime you want. But the truth is, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Commissioner Reed's retaliation against me. He fired me Monday night. I don't care what piece of paper he gave you on Tuesday. What is he hoping to gain from that? Other than damaging my reputation and making me look bad. That is it. So whatever it is, that's on him. I have nothing to do with it. I didn't want anything to do with it. I didn't call any media outlets. I was minding my own business. I wanted to move on with my life. The guy is obsessed with coming after me. He was approaching people before and after the meeting, wanting them to hear what he had on me. People tell me every day. But you know what he didn't tell you or didn't respond to? Did he mention to you how he had approached that grant fraud that I mentioned? Did he give you an explanation for that? Because I don't know if he did or not, but if I were him, I would be denying that and say Mike Mortell made that up. Because if that's true, that's a really, really bad thing. And if I did make it up, that's grounds for cause for me to be fired. So he could have used that to fire me. But I didn't make it up, and it's real. And that's why he's retaliating against me.
Now, we'll get into some of Reed's allegations in the documents that he had provided in a little bit. But first, I want to go into your relationship with Commissioner Reed. In the days prior or after the meeting, had you and Commissioner Reed had any contact?
Of course.
Did you try? Can you tell me what those conversations were like?
As soon as he brought that up on October 13th, I was blindsided by it. I reached out to him and asked him to meet with me to tell me what the cause was. Now, for what it's worth, the city charter, the personnel policy, and other traditions and cultures actually require it and says that I'm supposed to be given a list of the things I'm being charged with and an opportunity to respond to them. The reason that we didn't go forward on the 13th is because he had never done that. So he and I scheduled a meeting on the following Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever it was. I don't know if it was, the meeting was Monday night. I don't know if we met on Tuesday or Wednesday, but we met that week. And he said, he went over some of the things that he had concerns about, which, to be honest with you, were the most frivolous things I've ever heard in my life. It was the most significant one that actually had legitimacy to it was, did I throw away campaign signs last August? The answer is no, I didn't. Did I tell code enforcement to? The answer is yes, and I would do it again. Our code says it is illegal to put campaign signs up in any public right-of-way that can only be on private property. The code enforcement's phone was ringing off the hook. Every time I left City Hall, someone was walking up to me and complaining about campaign signs, and they were all littered and strewn through the right-of-ways and everywhere. Our code also gives us the ability to code enforce you for $300 for littering, dumping, violating code, several different reasons. So I said to the code enforcement officials, and by the way, this was my first summer as a city manager when there was election. The summer before, there was no election, so this is my first time. I said, the code says that you can fine them $300. Anybody that comes forward and claims that they put that sign in the right-of-way, I want you to issue a code enforcement violation, just as Mr. Reed claims that he wants open government or whatever he calls it. And as a result, you know how many people came forward and said that they put the sign in the right-of-way? That would add up to 0 still to this day. When Commissioner Reed and I were talking about it that following the meeting, I asked him to his face, I said, well, Sean, did you have any signs in the right-of-way? He said, no, I had none. I'm like, so why do you even care? And he goes, well, it was just a change in the policy. I said, no, it wasn't a change in the policy. In the past, the city managers would just hand the signs back to everybody. I changed it to, we're going to fine them $300 a sign for every sign illegally placed in the right-of-way, and then hand it back to them. But if you create a value on those signs, maybe they won't be so negligent or willfully disconcerted with the right-of-ways, and they'll place a higher value on those signs, and they'll put them in right-of-ways where they don't get thrown away. But right now, if you put a yard sale sign in the right of way, it would be removed and thrown away because it's not legal to do that. We couldn't prove who put the yard sale sign, so we're not going to spend a lot of resources chasing it down. And just because the sign says elect candidate A doesn't mean candidate A put the sign in the right of way. So we're not going to go after the candidate for it. So what we wanted to do is say, okay, and if you read the code, it says you have to admit or claim the sign. And I said, if anybody does, code enforce them for the $300 and bring it forward. No one did. We threw the signs away. And by the way, none of them had anything to do with Commissioner Reed. On top of that, the vast majority of them were state, federal, other stuff. It was just a barrage of pollution that was driving me crazy. I would do it again. There's no doubt in my mind. The other one was that the mayor signed the agreement with Brightline on the day that Commissioner Reed was sworn in that night at the meeting. Well, if you've ever been involved in government or business or actually anything with any structure at all, the city commission 2 weeks before that had voted on that contract, instructed us as staff to have the contract finalized with Brightline and have it executed by the mayor. Assuming for the sake of conversation that it didn't happen the day of the meeting, and the meeting happened that night, and they all got sworn in, and they all jumped forward and said, we want to cancel Brightline. I would still the next day have to have the mayor sign the contract with Brightline because the resolution from 2 weeks ago directed that that happen. You can't undo the history. And then the commission could take what action they wanted to undo Brightline, and that would be fine with me, whatever procedural thing you want to do. But Sean Reed was acting administratively when he was having these conversations with me, which is a violation of the code of conduct and the policy and the charter, not pushing forward the policy of the city commission. Sean Reed had no authority to do any of this. The city commission had to vote for Sean Reed to have the authority to use his position to gain those records and then to share those records with the media. He didn't do that with direction from the city commission, unless you know what meeting it was, but I've been at every meeting, and I know I left 5 minutes earlier, but when he started insulting me, I'd had enough and walked out at the end of the meeting. But he had no legal authority to do what he's done here, to do this. It's a violation of the charter, it's a violation of the city policy, and it's a violation of the code of conduct. So for him to even have the audacity to do it, but I'm already fired. I'm a private citizen. Sean, leave me alone. Stop retaliating against me. I don't know what your obsession is, but I don't want anything to do with you. And I don't. I want him to leave me alone. He's continuing to slander me, retaliate against me, and he's forcing me to figure out to take some action against the city of Stuart to get it to stop. And I love the city of Stuart. I spent my whole life there. I don't want to do that, but this guy has gone off the deep end.
Now, you kind of told us a little bit about those conversations you had had with him both before and
right.
after.
I met with him and said, you list every single thing you have a question with. Mm-hmm. And every single thing was something that had been told to him by a Facebook person that was not accurate. The only things I mentioned that had any merit worth even relisting was the fact that I had removed the campaign signs, because that was actually something worth talking about. The rest of the stuff was so far-fetched. One of them was that I told Tom Kempenny about a potential settlement agreement that was being discussed regarding Costco in 2022 or something, which, number one, I didn't. And number two, the acting city attorney, I guess it was 23, the acting city attorney that was doing the process learned who told Tom Campenny, knew who it was, and didn't tell the gossip column on Facebook. But it wasn't me, and I told him as a fiduciary of the city exactly who it was, and that I could demonstrate it wasn't me, and I had nothing to do with it. But even if it was me, it wouldn't have mattered because it wasn't a confidential statement. No, I didn't even know it, but if I had known it, it couldn't have been confidential because I knew it. It had been told to me somewhere randomly, which it hadn't been. But more importantly, when I was on the city commission, there was a commissioner named Charlie Foster. Every time we had an attorney-client meeting, Charlie Foster would walk out of the meeting and walk right into the city commission chambers and say, Mike Mortell said this, Carl Kruger said this, Gene Rifkin said this, and Jeff Kroskoff said this, and say everything we said in the private meeting. And so when you talk about a privilege like that, it's the right of the commissioners to waive that privilege, not the right of staff, not the right of the lawyers, not the right of anybody else, but that of one of the commissioners. And if they waive that privilege, that's their discretion. I never even knew the terms. I never even cared about them. I never disclosed them to anybody. And within 48 hours, everybody knew exactly who it was. But for the last 4 years, Robin Cartwright has blamed me for it, even though I had nothing to do with it. And I've sent her emails in the past and said, Robin, come meet with me to discuss it. I'd be happy to go over it with you to demonstrate to you that it wasn't me. But even if it was me, it's not grounds for cause. So it was a red herring designed to give the city commissioners that were against me an opportunity to trash me on social media, to try and discredit me, to try and slander my name, so that if I pointed out that they were violating a policy or the law, that it would look like I was wrong.
Now, you go into how a lot of the claims in your private meetings with Commissioner Reed were frivolous. Some of the ones, I want to go over some of the ones that he had told CBS 12 and some other outlets as well. One of them being you allegedly driving on a suspended license. He says that you were notified by the police chief, and then when you were subsequently pulled over sometime later by officers, that you had lied. And I will say there is body cameras to support saying where
I did not have a suspended license.
You did not have a
it
suspended
was my
license.
position. I don't now either. But what happened was Sean violated the policy, went to one of the union members that didn't like the fact that I hired the particular police chief that we have now, and they told him that there had been an email from somebody to the chief that said my license was suspended. The first time I saw that email was last night when you guys put it on TV. Sometime in that time frame, I was walking through City Hall and the police chief said to me, like in the hallway, hey, I want to let you know, somebody told me that your car drove through the traffic cam and your license came up as suspended. My response was, my license isn't suspended. I haven't done anything for my license to be suspended at all. And I thought to myself, I have 2 adult sons. I thought, I bet one of my boys did something that their license is suspended. I'm going to get to that tomorrow and figure that out and straighten that out. Well, it wasn't the next day, or I don't know when it was, but by Thursday of that week, I got pulled over by the Martin County Sheriff's Office. And they said, did you know your license was suspended? And I said, no. I said, I maintain my license isn't suspended. And they said, well, did you get a ticket? And I said, oh God, and it was kind of confusing because I couldn't remember if it was in Colorado or Florida. It was some time ago. And I had gotten a ticket in September in Florida. I think I was coming home from Colorado is why I was confusing it. I got pulled over on I-95 on the way home from the airport. And the next day, I signed up for driving school because I'm going to do driving school instead of get the points. Well, 2 or 3 weeks goes by and I haven't done the driving school yet. So I thought to myself, I'm never going to get this 4-hour driving school done in time. I'm just going to pay the ticket. So I pick up the phone, call the Palm Beach County Clerk of Courts and said, hey, I need to pay this ticket. Can I pay this ticket? She said, sure. I paid the ticket on my credit card. It was paid in full. Do I need to do anything else? No. My license, good. Yes. Do I need to pay reinstatement? Nothing. No. I'm all good. Great. Nothing. Haven't been pulled over since then. Nothing. What happened was, unbeknownst to me, this was in late August or early September. I don't remember the exact date that I called the clerk.
Of this year?
Of 24,
okay.
Last year. I didn't know that if you sign up for driving school, that somebody has to uncheck a box to unsign up for driving school. So I paid the ticket, lived my life, did my thing. I don't doubt in my mind that FDOT sent a letter to my house giving me notice that my license was suspended, but I didn't get the letter. I'm sure I threw it away with a bunch of other junk mail, because if I'd seen it, I would fix it right away. On a Thursday night, I got pulled over by a Martin County Sheriff's deputy. Of course, Sean went and got the video of it, and I hope you watched it. I didn't say, do you know who I am, or any of that ridiculous stuff people do. I did not know my license was suspended. I could not understand why it would be suspended. I told the police officer, he even said to me, well, the computer shows me that the ticket was paid. And I'm like, that's what I said, I'm telling you. And he goes, well, you need to go fix this with the clerk, but FDOT sent you the letter. I have to write you a citation for it. It is what it is. And I said, fine. I was polite. It wasn't his fault. I mean, he's just doing his job. So I said, fine, thank you. Signed for the ticket. The next morning was a joint meeting with the county. I walked right into the joint meeting and told the mayor, Commissioner Clark, the police chief, a couple of the county commissioners, and anybody else who was there, disclosed it to everybody. Sean Reed had skipped that meeting, so he wasn't there. But I told everybody who was there. I was just as shocked as everybody else. And I went to after the meeting, I went to the tax collector's office, and I had paid the ticket. There was nothing that I did wrong. I had paid it timely. Everything was done. They made me pay a reinstatement fee because I'd gotten a letter in the mail that I didn't respond to, which I gladly paid. And then I had court. Court was October 23rd. I walked into the courtroom because I had the ticket, right? So I walked into the courtroom on October 23rd, walked up to the state attorney, explained to her what happened, and she said, you need to go across the hall to the clerk's office, explain that to them. They're going to do what's called a clerk's withhold of adjudication, and the whole file will be closed. But bring me back a receipt, because I don't want you to get charged for failure to appear. And that's exactly what I did. But I could have gone and had a full trial and spent a day fighting the timing of the ticket or whatever it was. But I don't do that. I don't want to litigate about stuff that doesn't matter. What happened was I signed up for driving school, and then I paid the ticket. Driving school gives you 120 days to go to driving school. Well, August to September to October to November to December was the 120 days. So in early January, they suspended my license. If I had not paid the ticket or not resolved the matter, my license would have been suspended within 30 days of being pulled over. So clearly, I paid the ticket, and it was a misunderstanding. But it wasn't important enough to fight about. It was more efficient to just resolve it. I disclosed it to everybody. I didn't hide it. I admitted it. I didn't try to get any special treatment. But Sean Reed used his position as a city commissioner to get members of the union that wanted a different person to be elected or appointed as the chief, to give them information he would not have otherwise been available to receive in violation of the city charter, the commissioner's code of conduct, and state law, to use that. By the way, why did he use it? Do you know why? I mean, as we sit here, I still don't know. I'm thinking it was to retaliate against me and to slander my name. Because otherwise, if it mounted to cause, he would have brought it up and fired me for cause. What he did is waited till I was gone, thinking that I wouldn't be able to respond to it or that I wouldn't sue him in the city for doing it. But he's wrong. I'm not going to tolerate this. I do not think this is appropriate. And when you have rogue commissioners that think they're above the law, something needs to happen to fix it. I did nothing wrong.
So, in that last statement you just said, are you planning on, if this continues, are you planning on suing the city and or Commissioner Reed?
I'm planning on doing whatever I need to do to get this to stop. He's slandering my name. He's retaliating against me because I publicly stated that he was committing fraud with that family on that community redevelopment grant that he knows he was doing. And this is his big revenge scheme.
So if this continues, you may have to take legal action. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Would you? Yeah, you would. If somebody was ruining your reputation, I've been here my whole life. 25 years in the city on different various boards, city commission, volunteer boards, full-time employee, and never any basis for me for cause. And all of a sudden, I have TV news reporters in my living room accusing me of wrongdoings that are taken completely out of context because a commissioner is using his position as a public official to get revenge against me. I mean, that has to seem outrageous to people. I mean, first of all, I'm fired, guy. Leave me alone. I don't work there anymore. What more do you want? But he wants more. I don't get it. What's the next issue? Let's keep going.
Well, I was going to ask, the other one that stood out was was an HR complaint that he had given us talking about.
What year?
2019. I don't have it in front of me right
2019. 2019 to 2020, 2020 to 21, 21 to 22, 22 to 23, 23 to 24, 24 to 25 is 6 years. Number one, if that had been a crime, the statute of limitations would have run. Number two, if it was a basis for cause, I would have been fired in 2019. Number three, it was never a secret. It's always been in my file. I don't even know what the issue is you're talking about. I'm assuming it's an issue between myself and the HR director. But you know what? I'm not going to discuss it. You need to talk to her about it. A couple reasons. I honor the HR process, and it's important to me that the city continue to have that process. Sean Reed doesn't care about people or the HR process. He wants to slander and get revenge against me. But imagine for a second, if you're a 23-year-old girl working at the city in some department right now, and someone is sexually harassing you, and you're considering going to HR, and you're on the fence because you're nervous about it because it's your first job and you don't want to lose your job, but you want this to stop, right? But as soon as they see that commissioners can go pull HR files and use them for political gain and put them on the public airways, do you think that person would make that complaint anymore? Because the answer is no way. It completely destroys the entire HR system and the confidentiality of it and the respect of the person complaining. What I will tell you is that there was an issue regarding my contract in 2019. I had serious issues and concerns about it. I took them up with the HR director. She filed paperwork on it. I filed a response. Did he give you that? Because my response was 30 pages long.
We didn't get that.
Oh, really? That's a shocker. I'm shocked. But you know what really happened? The HR director and I have become friends. Not only did we get along, but you should call her. We've worked side by side since before I was city manager and worked the last 2 years. You know who else he didn't call about that? Sean Reed didn't call her either because he knew, or if he did, he knows what she said to him is that we get along just fine and there's no issues at all because we're both professionals. The person that's not the professional is Sean Reed, and he's destroying the HR process in hopes to slander Mike Mortell.
We're running out of time here. Is there anything you'd like to say? You already gave a short message to Sean Reed, kind of telling him to leave you alone, essentially. Is there anything you want to say to people in the public? Obviously, you gave a pretty long speech during that Monday night hearing.
I had 4 pages left.
So, is there anything that you wanted to? Is there anything that you wanted to get off your chest? Anything you wanted to say to either the public who attended or wants more clarity on this issue, or anything you would want to say now as a private citizen to the commissioners who either voted you off or voted for you to stay?
I love the city of Stuart. It is one of the greatest staffs in the world. And I would do anything I can to protect those staff members. And I'll continue to defend them and do whatever I can, because they weren't just staff, they were my family and my friends. And the part I'm the most concerned about is that if they see things like this happening, it will put a chilling effect on them. And I want them to all know that their jobs are secure, and this is just some commissioners going off the deep end, and that everything will be fine. And the city of Stuart will return to being that very secure workplace that's a great place to work in paradise, and we can continue moving forward, and hopefully whoever replaces me will have the same mindset that they want people to follow traditions, follow policies, and stay within the law, and that the staff should stick it out because the city needs them.